6:32, morning to you. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne on your TV, on your radio and online.
Right, it's time to go through the papers now. Joining us this morning, journalist Benedict Spence and broadcaster Nabila Ramdani. And a very good morning. Thank you for joining us so bright and early on a Sunday. Right, let's look at the Northern Ireland elections, Benedict, first of all. You've been looking in The Observer, talking about a seismic Sinn Féin victory.
Yes, I mean, it is pretty momentous that actually you do have a unity union in Ireland, rather, party getting the majority in Northern Ireland. A lot of talk now about potentially there being a referendum in the next few years. I think the main thing for me is not actually so much the size of Sinn Féin, because Sinn Féin coming first doesn't necessarily change anything in Northern Ireland as long as a pro-unionist party comes second. It's the rise of the Alliance Party, which tends to be sort of wanting to put all the history of Northern Ireland behind it and focus on other areas, coming third. It's still only got about sort of 13, 14% of the vote, but still that's a significant step forward, because actually people talking about there's potentially being a referendum, this and the other different sorts of changes, none of it actually matters, in my opinion certainly, until actually you get a party in the top two that isn't either pro-unionist or pro-Irish Union. Because ultimately, the political situation in Northern Ireland is meant to function that way, with, the DUP on the one side and Sinn Féin on the other, basically. They're supposed to sort of counteract each other. So, as things currently stand, nothing has actually changed that much, except that now Sinn Féin are obviously in the ascendancy. But were there to be a referendum, I suspect it would be a referendum, right now. No.
Because there has to be a government to debate a referendum.
That's why nothing has actually changed just yet.
It looks like it's going to be a paralysed government, because obviously the DUP is going to make everything possible to stop the Sinn Féin from having a sitting government, and they're going to make sure that they've already made it clear that they didn't want to be involved in any power sharing until some of the major issues have been resolved, not least of all the Northern Ireland Protocol and the rest of it. So it looks like they might have to go to the polls again in a few months' time.
Maybe. It's interesting because Annie's been in touch. Morning to you, Annie, and shedding a bit of light on this. Sinn Féin didn't win. The Unionists lost it because there are three main unionist parties: the DUP, the UUP, the Ulster Unionists, and the TUV. And they made the fatal mistake of not working together. If they hadn't had the sense to work together, the Unionists would still hold power in Stormont.
I also think it's quite important to note that Sinn Féin did not massively campaign on the idea of Irish unity. They talked about things like housing, things like jobs. They very specifically didn't go down that line, and it's only now that they've got the win that everybody's saying there could be a referendum sort of in the next few years.
But that would be like voting for the SNP and thinking, well, they haven't talked about a devolved Scotland.
True, but I think it was about getting votes away from, say, a party like the Alliance Party, trying to get young people who might vote for that party to actually put Sinn Féin on their ballot rather than going for the upcoming party.
But it does still signifies a massive change in Northern Ireland politics, because we effectively now have two key parts of the Union, Scotland and indeed Northern Ireland, who are effectively run by parties who want to break up with the United Kingdom. So that's that's an incredible thought for British politics, and we are contemplating nothing less than the breakup of the UK potentially.
And meanwhile, in the Sunday Times, Nabila, they're also, because of the Northern Ireland Protocol, which is something else to get your head around. It's also very complicated. They're saying it's reawakened Brexit tension.
Yes, I mean, the Northern Ireland Protocol has always been a fiendishly complicated issue associated with Brexit, and it needs to be sorted out sooner rather than later. And now we're effectively hearing from the Foreign Secretary, Liz Truss, who's issued yet again a warning to Brussels, asking the EU Commission to fix the Northern Ireland Protocol, or she warns it might jeopardise the peace process, especially after Sinn Féin's victory, and she warns about political instability. And so what she's effectively doing, typically she's blaming the EU for Brexit difficulties, including the failure to clarify effectively the Northern Ireland Protocol.
Well, certainly it needs clarification, doesn't it? How many people understand it? Richard has got in touch. Hi, Richard. The Irish election result is largely due to the failure of Boris to tear up the Northern Ireland Protocol, or at least trigger Article 16. And so the controversy rumbles on.
It does. I mean, ultimately, again, this is why I don't really think that a referendum is anywhere near on the cards, as much as anything else, because it wouldn't just be about Irish unity, it would also be about Brexit all over again, which, you know, I don't want to say that people are sick and tired of Brexit, but really, is that what you want to do? You want to have the nationalist issue and the Brexit issue?
I think people are probably sick and tired of talking about Brexit. Look, can we have a look at the Mail on Sunday? I really want to look at the Mail on Sunday because they've got this exclusive over Beergate with Keir Starmer. I mean, every excuse the Labour Party has given as to why the event with Keir and a curry and a beer was...
Oh, that's a good song.
There you go. Was not breaking the rules. Has been blown out of the water, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's incredibly embarrassing for the Labour Party, especially, I suppose, given that for a very long time Lisa Nandy was sort of going around senior members of the Labour Party saying we might want to downplay this a little bit because it might come back to bite us, the way that we're pushing Partygate so much, and lo and behold, it has really come back to bite them. I mean, I suppose... the key thing really is we're talking now about hypocrisy because Keir Starmer has said that the Prime Minister ought to resign because he was the one that broke the law.
Let's just tell our viewers and listeners actually what is in this memo,
So
because it's a Labour Party memo.
Yes, this is a memo that said that the meal that they had was scheduled, it wasn't sort of impromptu, and that there was no work that was going to happen afterwards. It just says meeting ends. And that's the idea, therefore, that this wasn't some sort of working thing that they were doing on the hoof. It was actually planned that they were all going to have a sit-down meal, and that would have broken the rules.
That breaks the rules.
Yeah, that does break the rules. I mean,
and Angela Rayner and Keir Starmer were named in that memo.
Yes, there was.
They are going to be there. There will be a curry. There will be.
Basically, this is the idea that the meal was planned, that they were both there, that was planned, and that at every stage the suggestion that this was just it was working because it was an election, and that it was fundamentally it was work related, and that it was necessary in order to get the work done. That was not the case. That it was a social
They were just
event.
grabbing a bit of food while they worked.
Yeah, and I suppose really it is embarrassing because, as we've touched upon, Keir Starmer has been very consistent saying that the Prime Minister, if he's broken his own rules, he should resign. But I would say that the one thing that's probably the saving grace for Keir Starmer right now is it's entirely set up as the fact that the Prime Minister is the one that set the rules in place and lied and didn't resign. So for as long as that remains the case, as much as it doesn't do him any favours and nobody thinks any better of him, Keir Starmer will be able to sort of grimly hang on and say,
yes,
well, the Prime Minister
he supported those moves in the House of Commons.
He did, but he didn't actually put them in place. And that would be the
key. If you're going to attack a government over hypocrisy and lies, then you need to be squeaky clean about yourself, and clearly Keir Starmer is struggling about that.
I mean, this is the issue, though, isn't it? Because a lot of people, a lot of our viewers particularly, were saying the Prime Minister should not resign over Partygate. It's a nonsense. Yeah. Now, you may agree with that, you may disagree with that.
But the irony
here, this isn't about Beergate, is it? It's about the hypocrisy of Beergate.
Absolutely, and more specifically, Keir Starmer has been acting like a high-powered lawyer over the past few weeks, building a case against Boris Johnson and indeed prosecuting a case with so much enthusiasm, even going as far as calling for the Prime Minister to resign, that effectively the whole case is collapsing and the whole thing is turning against him. And there are even voices in his own party, including Diana, but apparently, who's already calling for him to resign. So whatever the outcome of the police investigation into Beergate is, this is already hugely embarrassing for Keir Starmer, and it would be very difficult for him to remain the leader of the Labour Party and dare I say, the Labour Prime Minister potentially.
Yeah. Do you think that could happen? That he could be unseated now? I mean, it'd be difficult because the deputy is also on this.
Well, that's the key thing, is that the person that people like Diane Abbott would really quite like to replace him with is also banged to rights if that were to be found to be the case. Ultimately, look, I'm of the opinion that the Prime Minister ought to resign and that Keir Starmer, if he's found guilty, should probably do it as well. But I suspect nothing much will come of it. It's just another shabby episode in a very long series.
I want to talk to a Labour MP because I just want them to say to me, well, we need to wait for the results of the investigation, which is not what Keir Starmer said, what called for Boris to go, just because
there was an investigation.
Precisely, and I think what people hate above anything else is the hypocrisy. They can accept the offence, but the cover-up and the way they're going on about it is what makes, what compounds the hypocrisy, I think.
Oh, dear me, I don't know.
What will happen next? I don't know. You've got Northern Ireland government refusing to work with each other, so it looks as though nothing's going to happen there. As you said, a paralysed government. And
Maybe that'll be the thing. We'll find out that the senior members of Sinn Féin were at a party at the same time, and maybe that'll cause a scandal.
I can't bear it. That would just be
Too much.
too much. Can I ask you about whether either of you are owners of Jack Russell Terriers?
No, I'm not an owner of a
No, I'm not a doggy person.
Have you seen the story about the SAS recruiting Jack Russell dogs?
On the front page of the Star, yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
No, but apparently it's true. It quotes the SAS saying that, yes, indeed, they have lots of other dogs working for them, but they are actively recruiting now Jack Russells because they're little, they run like the very what's it. They are incredible. They're very, very quick learners, and they're going to use them in Ukraine.
One thing I found, I can't remember what television show it was, but I discovered that in parts of Cambodia and Southeast Asia, they train rats to detect bombs, because apparently rats are very good at smelling things, and that they train them, and they can live for a very long time, these rats, and they're actually, because they're very lightweight, they can sort of go over landmines and stuff and not trigger them, but they're very good at finding things
And
like
ferrets, don't they? They use ferrets.
Expression, I smell a rat.
Yeah. Well, the rat smells you.
Rats are actually very intelligent, aren't they? But also, we've used intelligent animals before because we've also used dolphins, haven't we?
Yes.
The Americans used dolphins, I think, at some point.
And we were talking about the 70th anniversary of VE Day, and we used pigeons a lot in the war, apparently, as well. And some pigeons got medals.
Want to pin it on, would you?
No, not really. But apparently some pigeons did remarkable work during the war.
Yeah.
Both World Wars.
Couriers, yeah.
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 Cats are too intelligent to get wrapped up in that kind of thing. That's why I was surprised to hear that one had been awarded with them.
Yeah, well, if I remember correctly from some documentary I heard about Simon from HMS Amethyst, I think he survived. There was like 3 or 4 attacks on Amethyst and almost sinking, all the rest of it, and he sort of kept the whole crew sort of buoyant, not literally, because he'd survived and kept turning up.
Oh. Well, I know they don't give away those doggy catty medals easily at all. It's run, apparently, the Dickin Medal, it's called, and they talk about it as the sort of animal equivalent of the Victoria Cross. And there have been some amazing stories, but it's the PDSA that runs it. So they wouldn't just give it to any old cat or dog. I think there has to be some pretty remarkable story behind it. So I just want to know, if you're the owner of a Jack Russell Terrier, what is it like? Are they really highly intelligent? I don't know any Jack Russells, but are they highly intelligent? Do they run fast? Can they go absolutely anywhere and be really useful?
No, they look beautiful. They look beautiful.
They do.
Quick look, Nabila, at the Royal Rumble, because I think this will get a lot of people quite pleased that the Netflix crew are going to be banned from the Jubilee.
Yes, indeed. That's a Sun story. Notflix goes the headline.
That's a very good headline.
Very good headline. Apparently, Palace Minders will stop any Harry and Meghan Netflix crew if they try to film inside royal events at the Platinum Jubilee. So this is actually a very comical story, because Harry is pretty much permanently, dare I say, attached to a Netflix camera crew nowadays, and he tries to fulfill a contract with Netflix, but he keeps wandering off to speak to American rivals to Netflix.
Oh.
So this will reinforce the view that he's not actually the big celebrity that he thinks he is, and they're quoting some figures linked to his Netflix contract going as high as 112 million or something like that. I don't actually believe those figures, because like any celebrity, you earn that money when and if you actually deliver. So I think it's, we get a bit carried away by all these figures that are being thrown.
But certainly when Meghan and Harry came to visit the Queen very briefly a couple of weeks ago, there was apparently, allegedly, a Netflix crew following them. Obviously couldn't go inside the castle, but they were following them elsewhere. So it suggested that little visit will be part of the narrative of the documentary.
The problem is, it doesn't matter what Netflix documentary they ever make, it'll never be as entertaining as when Spitting Image used to do their pastiches of the royal family behind the scenes. Nothing will ever top that, so why would you bother to tune in for whatever it is Netflix coming?
But they're clearly going to be
showing your age.
They're clearly going to be all kinds of tensions when they come to Britain, and this is an obvious one. I mean, remember, this is a couple who appeared on international television, were making all kinds of. No, sorry.
I've sell a few tickets. I've sell a few tickets. I've just got to say, if they're earning £112 million, he should sort his hair out.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have going bald on top.
And there are all sorts of odd pictures of him with his shirt half off in the newspapers too today. I don't know what he was up to.
But isn't that interesting that they were, as I was going to say, they were making all kinds of very disturbing accusations against the royal family, and yet they will be back within the family again.
Yeah.
That sounds a bit odd.
Their behaviour has been a bit contrary, isn't it?
But it just shows that their unique selling point, if I may put it in commercial terms, because they seem to be obsessed by that, is their link with the royal family. And when that's gone, when they effectively stepped away, then it shows that they have not much to offer, dare I say.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will see. That might be the biggest hit on Netflix they've ever seen. Or it may not.
Or can again.
Yeah, well, possibly. Nabila, Benedict, thank you both.
Thank
See
you.
you later.